Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Vijal podcast, joined as always by the founder of the Vijal Institute, Adi Burlia. Hi, Adi. How are you?
Doing well, Mark. Great to do another crazy week of AI.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm Mark Troy. I'm your host. And reminder each week, we are bringing you the top three news stories in AI. We're trying to filter out all the noise and give you what really matters in AI each week. We dive into it and give you some great details. We also give you a live demo every week of something amazing in AI. And we usually share a good client success story with you. Don't forget, for more information, you go to vijal.ai or email us at outreach@vijal.ai. So, Adi, big week, crazy news, as you say. Let's start with
With
math. Everybody wants to start with math, right? So, what's going on with AI and math and all these amazing things that are happening?
brilliant paper by OpenAI, and this is using their new Astra model, which is not out to the public. I presume this is the same one that we talked about, last week, where it sort of went and hacked Hugging Face. But the good news, it's really good at math, and they pretty much have been now knocking out, and we've seen these happen all last couple of weeks, and so this is just sort of the acceleration of it, where they are just knocking out problems which are 70, 80 years old, which have just not been solved. And some of this theoretical math, has real world applications. Everything from, for example, high dimensional sphere packing and binary and spherical codes. A lot of this goes into spectrum. So you can expect, hopefully, 5G to get faster with 6G and 7G thanks to that. A lot of that about encryption and, a lot of fundamentals that are going to push. Now, this is math, and now we're finally seeing this was the great promise of AI that we was told, years ago, that hey, we're going to push the boundaries of human knowledge, push what we understand about the universe, and to see it do these fundamental understandings. At the end, math sort of underpins everything we know about the known world, is absolutely extraordinary. OpenAI has hinted, and we are looking at seeing others as well who are going to hit this across chemistry, biology, and a whole bunch of other fields, where we expect now this year, hopefully a couple, with good luck, Nobel Prize winning big leaps done with the AI assist. Obviously, these are still humans helping out. I will
Yeah.
tell you a funny story, though. One of the interesting things, if you guys have 5 minutes, is to go online and to, or try it yourself, is to, tell different AI models that AI solved this. I've seen a couple, I've tried a couple, it's hilarious. They are as much in disbelief as, as the rest of us. They're like, no, that can't be happening. This has happened. Like, wait, an AI solved this? Who was the AI? My God, what's going on? So great leaps for understanding of the world. And of course, AI actually delivering amazing results.
So, if you don't mind, I want to take 30 seconds on philosophy of AI because I've been teaching classes as well, and I had this conversation with people about, is AI capable of truly innovating? And this is one of those areas where I think, is it that the AI models came up with something the world has never thought of before, or did it simply assemble a large variety of sources that were already available, but no human had yet put together all those pieces yet, and didn't necessarily come up with something on its own that is truly groundbreaking, innovative? I know it's a philosophical question. What's your take on it?
So, Mark, I mean, we have an entire course on how to innovate with AI, right? And part of that is, in this particular case, it's a bit of both. One sort of really putting together, different things. But in the case of, and I, for fortunately and unfortunately, know a rather deep amount about the theoretical math community. It's very small. There are not that many scientists really attacking this. So one is, just, like one scientist, one theoretical mathematician picks one problem and that's their life story. That's
Yeah,
7 years, 8 years of their PhD, right?
yeah,
So one is that it's a small community. So it's not like they don't know stuff, but pretty much they don't have the bandwidth to work on a lot of different problems all the time, right? And so part of it is that a lot of these problems, just don't have, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 different diverse minds working on it. The
yeah,
way you see the great leaps that happen, usually when enough has happened, and then you have, one giant leap. But you also have then the lone genius, famous Ramanujan who said that God told me and just sprouted out 1,000 solutions,
Yeah.
while he was at Oxford. But in this case also it's because the ability to run verify at scale is very fast, right? So
Yeah.
the beauty of mathematics, it's self-contained. You can test it and it can test it just because any mathematical proof is self-contained. And because of that, it can run thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of attempts and solutions, while a mathematician has to actually calculate them out. And some of this math is very, very wrong. And again, just to remind our viewers, I know large language models aren't very good at math. They still can't really do 1 + 1 = 2. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but
Yeah.
they can outsource it
Mhm.
to software.
Yeah.
Because they can write um, in programming languages, because those are languages and those are large language models, and then they can get the
Mhm.
software to take their ideas and verify it and get exact answers. And so the
Yeah.
tooling is what's sort of driving that as well.
Well, super interesting. I'm sure this is just the beginning of that. We'll be seeing more to come. Talking about big breakthroughs and big news, DeepSeek, the Chinese AI, made a big splash a year or so ago when they came on the scene saying that they were faster and cheaper. What's going on now? Something new happened in the past week.
Perfect. Mark, you're not getting old. I think DeepSeek was like 2 years ago. it's been it's been a crazy journey, and it just seemed like ChatGPT was launched yesterday, right? And in the world of technology adoption, it was just yesterday. It's like hardly 2023, 2024. But
Yeah.
DeepSeek completely rocked the world in sort of 2024, completely changing the mathematics of changing the models, taking what would take $100 million to train a model and bring it to 500, and they've done it again. This is DeepSeek Pro. Of course, sources the artificial intelligence extractions, etc., and credit to the persons for making these beautiful boxes. This is the scary model. I want to spend 2 seconds on this. This is Flash 0731 Max version. It is right up there with the flagship 5.6 Luna. It is right up there with the flagship 5.6 Soul Low, and within shooting distance of a whole bunch of top models here, right? And as a reminder of people,
Sorry, for those who are having trouble reading this, if I understand, Adi, what you're saying here is that this is as smart or almost as smart as the very top tier models from ChatGPT and Anthropic, but it's faster and cheaper, like a lot cheaper. Is that what you're telling us?
100%. And I just want to compare this to some of your older models, right? You have like a whole bunch of stuff that all of us are using maybe 3 months ago are kind of here, right? And so this is top model, but this is not just super cheap. I mean, the difference between the top models from Claude, for example, who are here in Sonnet, and this is this really insanely steep curve, right? This is, this is order of magnitudes, right? This is like 0.0203 and $2. So it's not 10x,
Yeah.
it's like 1:90x or something cheaper than a lot of the models.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. And this is the big thing that's breaking that, as DeepSeek has done before. It's open source and open weight. So people can download this. And all of these guys who are stuck here can learn from this, as they did when the full DeepSeek came out. A lot of people here are thanks to DeepSeek. And now all of them can figure out how do you create an ultra small model that is pretty much on paper at least, at the very highest end of intelligence. But this is where the entire world changes for us as businesses and us as consumers. It is small enough for you to download and run on local hardware. And so I did what any good scientist would do: ran to the local computer store and bought a new NVIDIA chip. Um, but you just sort of go one more thing on this, right? As you know, this is the Vulkan benchmark, and this one you can kind of see that it's actually beating out almost everybody, even the top models for certain software engineering tasks. And just as an aside, guys, One of the things you're seeing in the past 1 month, we've talked about the hardness being everything, but also the level of thinking perhaps it may not be the ideal amount. For all of you have definitely overthunk, as I do all the time, a simple email. And imagine hiring a double PhD and saying, hey, you need to spend 5 hours thinking about this email. You're probably not going to get the best result on that. And so we're seeing more and more that, for example, in certain tasks, the medium thinking is actually better for DeepSeek. And you see Fable here, where you see actually the low thinking for these tasks are actually better. And, it's only like the ChatGPT Soul where you have this arc, and there's a lot of conversation on why that ChatGPT has the reasoning figured out, while everybody else kind of all over the place.
Mm.
But in this one, it's actually beating out or comparable to the top models across the world, right?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. I'm going to come to the European guys in just a second. So this is running entirely local, and this is on about $12,000 worth of hardware. You can get this up and running in about $5,500 as well, just at a little bit slower speed. This is the combined tokens for 6 sequences. But an individual, if you run it, we get about 70 tokens per second. That's about 70 words per second. To give you a benchmark, you have most of your ChatGPT systems are giving you around 35 to 40, 50 as well. So this is actually faster than what you're experiencing from the commercial providers, unless you enable fast mode, unless you're using the new Cerebrus system from this. But this is what is unbelievable. So this is actually a specialized model. This isn't the original DeepSeek. This is an abulated or an uncensored or a free model, as you call. And let me just ask a simple question. Let's design a new virus
Ooh.
and genetically alter humans and therefore cure genetic diseases.
Guys, this is only for instructional purposes. But your other
And we're not
AIs
putting
would
out the link of the model either. So
well, and just for everybody who's watching, your other AIs, if you go on your ChatGPT or your Anthropic, it'll just refuse to answer that question. It won't even try.
and for good reason, right? This is all considered dual use. But we
Yeah.
have so many clients, and I have a great pharmaceutical example on that, who need AI in the lab. And they have to go through extraordinary hoops to get top AI models, they have to pay a lot of extra money and compliance and all of this. And even then, they're scared that they're highly proprietary secrets, right? You can invest up to $1 billion pursuing one new chemical compound, right? And
Yeah.
all of that data, all of that stuff, they've been constantly being hacked, because people are speculating on whether it'll succeed or not. But then the science behind this also is so proprietary, and they're, despite all the assurances, commercial, legal, sovereign on AI, many of them are still kind of a little bit afraid of, using, full commercial AIs. And we handhold, we walk through governance, we look at compliance, and we do it for some of the most regulated industries. But for a lot of people and scientists, having this unlock, being able to talk to a cutting edge, world class model openly, and we
Amazing.
talked about innovation a little points ago. Part of the reason why OpenAI and all of these are doing it internally rather than giving it to external partners who are sort of vetted and all, and they all have programs to do this, is because they're able to run these models without any inhibitions. Because the same thing that allows you to get a top mathematical problem solved is the same path that may lead to extraordinary abuse on the other side. Hacking, breaking cryptographic algorithms, figuring out credit card numbers. Same math can help completely change 5G and spectrum. So one, you have a absolutely insanely cheap world-class model, which I think everybody's in shock for the next couple of months as they have to rethink pricing. ChatGPT knocked 80% off of Luna. That's what you see here. They're seeing huge advances. DeepSeek, once again, comes and just throws the table, and everyone has to go back to the drawing board. I'm sure Anthropic is worried about their IPO. What's that look like for pricing?
Yeah.
But it also completely changed the regulatory system, right? We had, oh my God, Fable is going to kill the world. And we talked about it last week when an American company had to hire a Chinese model to defend against another American company because the American models wouldn't help it. And we had that insane thing.
Yeah.
Now we have a completely free, open-ended model that came out that sort of, fully, pushes out any thought about regulation because it's Chinese, and the Chinese are not talking about this type of regulation the way Anthropic is pushing the U.S. government to. And again, we could talk about this for hours, but this hits so many parts of the AI ecosystem at the same point. One of the nice parts, and we talked about the letter Jensen Huang got, almost everybody in the industry to sign, saying that, hey, proprietary models are great, and we're going to invest in those, but the U.S. government shouldn't, stop open source models from coming out. And everybody except Anthropic signed that letter. And then, and that was the Kimi, which is kind of here. And then, oop, right after the letter gets signed, you have DeepSeek, which pushes out the new Flash edition, which is absolutely pushed. And the old one, by the way, was here. And so this new preview is there. And this isn't the final model. And so we might see this actually crawl up
Wow.
as they finish their runs. So absolutely amazing, week in AI in terms of just getting consumers, getting businesses access to really top tier intelligence, really small and low prices, private, so it can run on your own setup, 100%. And at the same time, the ability to change and modify to your personalization, your industry, your country. So absolutely insane launch. And we're hopefully going to see a couple of more coming out in the coming months.
Wow. Well, I'm waiting, Adi, for you to loan me one of these DG Spark workstations so I can try this at home. In the meantime, okay, so basically what you've described here is I'll be a little bit exaggerating and call it weapons grade AI, super powerful.
I
How do
mean,
the Europeans feel
Dario
about it?
calls it a nuclear bomb. So, I mean, it's more, so you can use that language.
So how do the Europeans feel about this? I know this is our third story for the week, and Europe has big thoughts on where AI is heading.
So, I mean, um, Europe has struggled with AI. They were the first to come out with the big AI regulations, or perhaps earlier than everyone understood what it's about. They publicly said they are walking back many of those, and they have. And so some of the more crazy versions, which includes banning entire classes of AI from Europe,
Mm.
have been pushed to December of 2027 for them to review and see and actually see how AI is being used and how the industry sort of plays out. But what started to kick off, of course, was the standards and how they plan to do it. And one of the big ones is putting this big lettering on
Yeah,
every image and a letter on, it was made by AI or modified by AI. Now, I was a bit disappointed. I'm very what we had expected when we saw the writing of this to say, hey, every image must have a built-in pattern, watermark. We have a lot of countries who have rules on images, and they have a little bit of like a small corner where they have a little blip or something. If you've used Gemini or something to generate images, it puts a little star or an AI there, and I think
yeah,
that's what we expected. A new sort of marking system to say, AI made, AI modified, AI, pure AI, but not this massive
yeah,
banner style stuff. And for our clients across the world, and we've been polling them on the EU, they are upset because there's a fine line that we all have to travel between customer acceptance of AI images, think e-commerce, think marketing, think all of this, right? But imagine you have a big hero page of your company, and then you have AI modified there. I think it's great for artists and everybody who are upset at AI, who didn't want AI adoption to happen, but it pretty much freezes the EU out of a lot of small businesses benefiting from this, being able to get design, stock images, customized stuff at scale, and at the same time, finding that balance with their customers and what's acceptable. And, if it's early days, we still don't know how we've seen in the last 2 years, customers' acceptance of AI images and AI videos and all of that changed quite a bit. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the actual, the way this came out. Obviously, the EU has a long way to go. They announced last week $20 billion towards AI. Madam Ursula was on on Twitter doing that, and X, and met to a lot of, let's say, graphs, to put politely, showing that the Americans are probably putting $1 trillion in. China's probably putting half a trillion dollars in, and the 20 billion from Europe isn't going to cut it. So I think a lot of work for the EU still to do on figuring out the right balance between values, between AI, between creatives and all. But this seemed like a little bit of a misstep right now.
Well, and I'm not the kind of person that eschews all legislation, but I do worry about this because the good guys will do this, but the bad guys will keep putting junk on Facebook and Instagram with altered images to, sway political campaigns or whatever. And, they're not going to abide by these rules.
100%. And some of the stuff only works when the entire world
Yeah.
gets in on it. But like I said, and part of it is just acceptance, right? If you have such a
Yeah.
big, massive banner, legitimate businesses are not going to accept this. This
Yeah.
isn't something they're going to promote. This isn't something they are going to try to enforce, because it actually works actively against their interests to have
Yeah.
this. And the EU being the EU, it is limited by geographic jurisdiction. But to be fair, China has insane regulations, as you can imagine, around imaging and AI. You can't use anyone who's alive, even dead people, famous people. You can't use them, and which figures more out of taking normal laws, which every country has around images and people and likeness and copyright and all of that, and extending to the AI world. It makes complete sense. So, and it's not to say, the regulation itself is bad, and every sovereign country has the right to figure out how, they interact with AI and their people interact with AI. But this
Hmm.
is just ineffective. This is probably the wrong step forward.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that space. Fantastic, Adi. Thank you. So every week you share with us a success story. Vijal works with companies all over the world. I believe you mentioned to me that you had an interesting success story to share with the pharmaceutical company that you've worked with.
Absolutely. And, I won't go into details because, NDAs and all of that. But, this is something we've been working with pharma companies, healthcare companies, hospitals for the last couple of years. And the largest that, people obsess over the large language models, the text, the images. One of the big things, and we've talked about this in construction, for example, it's the same principle. We push companies that, hey, the vision models have also caught up, right? They're very good. You take a picture, upload to ChatGPT, and
Mhm.
ask it, describe what's happening here. And what I love about what these guys did, as well as, to be
Yeah.
fair, a lot of our other partners, and that's why we sort of pushed them to do this, is to take diagnostic information of X-rays, dentals, slides, pathology, and sort of run it through. And one of the big success stories that what I love, and we've seen this time and time again, and we just had it again a couple of weeks. So then being able to take processes that would take up doctors' time away from patients, and then manually have to review lots and lots of diagnostic slides just to help with a clinical trial or just to help with a disease state, a remark due and all, and cost them millions of dollars, to be fair, because this required huge data, lots of doctors, a lot of people to go after this. And then AI knocking it out 95%,
Yeah.
98% within the first 5 hours of them actually trying it. And so, I love when that happens. It accelerates science, it accelerates medicine, it saves money, it allows us to sort of go much faster into the future. And what I'm hoping, of course, is just as we're seeing the top 10 math problems being solved, this kind of stuff helps us in the top 10 cancer problems being solved, or the top 10 viruses being solved at a very similar pace.
So hopefully going to get us these new medications faster and cheaper. Yeah.
100%. And I can't say the names, but we have a couple of pharma companies which we're working with. The R&D cycle has just completely changed. Stuff that they would do in 6 months, 1 year, they're doing those experiments with autonomous lab equipment
Mhm.
connected to AI in minutes. So it's fantastic.
Okay, well, good, Addy. Thank you for that. I think that's it for today. So just to remind everybody, go to the Vijal website, vijal.ai. We have all kinds of information. We train people all over the world. Check out our coaching program. We have literally hundreds of people around the world being coached as we speak. A 10-week course teaching people from the fundamentals to advanced AI. And we have trainers and coaches everywhere. You can always email us at outreach@vijal.ai. Adi, thanks for joining us. I'll see you next week.
Perfect, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And please go out, play with the new models. It's a new day in AI land again. The only way to get really good at this is to just do it with yourself. Just keep trying, trying, trying. And who knows, in many cases, you'll be the first person in the entire world to have done what you're trying to do with AI.